First, we'll stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible. Thank you. Now we'll have the approval of the minutes from last meeting for the board. Does anybody have any comments or questions, or would you like to make a motion?
To approve the minutes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ashley. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain, wasn't here.
Oh, okay. One abstention.
You
The
can't
motion.
abstain unless you have a five.
Well, how can I vote on something I didn't?
That's just a rule.
Okay. Well, I guess I don't vote.
So-
I can advise you, that's all. but
All right,
So you're keeping your abstention.
I can't do it, she said.
What
Well,
I'm,
then,
this-
we understand.
right,
So-
just to be clear, you can't abstain unless you have a voting
Cause.
from the votes.
So how do you
What
vote?
do you do? Advice is, what do we do? Because that's what you said.
Vote
You're
no?
not present, how do you vote?
You could say no, or you could say yes, whatever your heart desires. Yeah.
I would pass either way. Yeah, exactly. No, because I
No.
wasn't here.
All right, so we have one no. Okay, we've approved the minutes. We have a quorum. We've determined that. So, I'm gonna allow the city attorney to swear everyone in.
Hello, if you're gonna speak to the board today, can you please stand and raise your right hand? Do you swear affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth? You do? Thank you.
Okay, for this first project, UDPHP 24016. This is at 1100 West Broward Boulevard. Does any of the board members have any disclosures? No.
There's
None.
Same by the property.
Pardon?
Same by the property.
Okay.
Yeah,
Drive by. Okay,
Drive by.
okay. Good. Applicant, would you like to, just come to the podium and state your name and tell us why you're here?
Hello, everybody. I'm Andrew Spiesman. This is Anfisa Pekinen, my partner. We're here because we want to put a sign on our restaurant on the front of the building.
Okay. As you've submitted the picture,
Yes, yeah.
okay. Great. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this issue? If not, we'll close the public issue and open it up to board comments.
How about the
Staff review.
Oh, staff, I completely forgot of it. See, it's a bad table. I can't see
It's
anybody.
okay. It's a relatively straightforward application. So they're just requesting one 36-inch diameter sign on the front facade of the building. It's a non-contributing building. And it will be halo lit. Our design guidelines discourage internal lighting, but halo lighting is something that is a little bit better than kind of an internal box sign or a channel letter sign. So it's going in the right direction, but it's not in our guidelines that way, so it does have to come before the board for your consideration. Like I said, it is a non-contributing building, and with that said, it does meet the applicable criterion that are considered for this type of application. And staff finds that this application for a certificate of appropriateness for major alterations under case number UDP-HP 24016 located at 1100 West Broward Boulevard meets the criteria as outlined in section 472411 B3CI of the ULDR, meets the criteria as outlined in section 472411 D3CII of the ULDR, and meets the criteria as outlined in section 4717.
Okay. Thank you. With that, we'll open it up to board comment.
No comment.
No comment, no,
No comment. No comment.
no, we're talking. I have one comment.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's a beautifully designed sign, but is it visible from the street?
Yeah, so it's mostly meant to be visible at night. So
Okay.
it's on a stucco background.
Right,
So like I designed everything in the building. I have an architectural engineering background.
right.
So it's just in the pictures that we had to illuminate it so I could show exactly what it would look like
Okay.
illuminated. But at night when you illuminate.
It would
the sign,
stand out much
yeah,
more.
it'll have black lettering with like 1/2 inch acrylic circle, like, and it's the lettering pasted on top of that. But the lettering backlit behind. And it's a solar light, so it's
Okay.
only gonna light up during the night. So, it's more like, those vintage like black signs on gray, how you can just see like, that was our kind of idea behind the design with it, so. Yeah, just something very
That's good.
clean and something very simple.
Good.
And yeah.
With that, if there's no more comments.
Well, I appreciate coming to the neighborhood. I think it's a nice addition to the Sylvan area. The question I'd have though is, are you just be open at night, and how will people see the restaurant if you don't have a sign that's showing when it's not dark?
Right, so we do have a road sign, which is existing. So we didn't have to do an approval on that because, and it's the exact same as the circle sign, because it was Metro PCS prior to this, so. It's actually a big circle that sits on the corner of the road. And we're gonna do the same sign on that. So you'll be able to see that from the road. And then, when you look at the building, you see that it's kind of more like Art Deco to be put on the middle of the building there. So that it's like, indifferent from the gray background that the stuff is.
Okay, and is it just gonna be a dinner serving, or is it gonna be lunch? You don't know yet.
I think we're gonna do, our plan is to do like lunch and dinner. So we're probably open, 1, 2 p.m.-ish. And see how it goes. We're really trying to discover what the area really offers us in terms of business. And like I was saying to you guys outside, like we had food trucks there. So we kind of have an idea of what the flow is gonna be like already. So, but again, it's new business for us, so we're kind of in the discovery mode for the first little while.
Thank you.
So you were trying out the neighborhood with the
Yeah,
food trucks.
we test drove it.
Okay,
I own a food truck company, so.
oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, with that, if there's no more board comment, does someone have a motion? Please help me out.
I'll make a motion to approve. Motion to approve case number UDP HP 24016, located 1100 West Broward Boulevard, as meeting the criteria as outlined in section 47-24. .11.d.3 CI of the ULDR. It meets the criteria as outlined in section 47.24, as I already mentioned. And meets the section 47.17. And based on staff recommendations, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Do you
Second
adopt
by
the,
Tim.
do you adopt the findings of facts in the staff report?
And adopting the findings of fact.
Do you add the condition that is on page 3 that says this application is subject to the approval of building utility and our
Yes.
And we have a second.
Second on the second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Good luck with everything.
You guys,
Yeah.
have a good day.
And second item on the agenda is UDPHP 24018, 400 Southwest Third Avenue in Fort Lauderdale, and 201 Southwest Fifth Street. The applicant, please introduce himself.
Yes. Good afternoon, evening, everybody. I'm Stephanie Chikaker on behalf of the applicant, and with me is Renata Portesco with Arquitectonica, who designed this project. This is the Nautical Residences and Hotel in what we're calling the Nautico District. So you'll see those sort of terms used interchangeably. This is a project that is across the New River from the historic district, so it's not required to come to the HPB, but we did come to the HPB when we did the project next door, which is called R3 Ring 3 River Walk Residences, and we have been working with Trish and with staff, and certainly felt it was appropriate to bring this to you so we can share with you this. This is a project we have been working on this for almost 2 years at this point. So we're getting finally to the point where it's going to be scheduled for actual site plan hearings. So it is requesting a waiver from the way that works, and I'm sure you're familiar with it, but the way that works is that in the city of Fort Lauderdale, anything that's in the master plan area can be approved at the staff level unless it's requesting waivers, and this is requesting some waivers. So it will go to a full city commission hearing for review and approval. So I'm not ready. Who's controlling it? Oh, up front. Okay, thank you. This would have been a better slide for me to start talking on. You can see obviously the historic district outlined in yellow, and the Nautica project in the Nautico district. And we're calling it Nautico because it really plays the architecture, and the overall project plays homage to the fact that it is on the water. There is a working marina that's there today, and the future project will also contain a working marina in the podium, although the marina it's a slated for a massive upgrade. Workings of the boats as they come into the river. There is a restaurant there today, the Pirate Republic that you're probably all familiar with, that is staying, although it will not be the Pirate Republic, it will be a future restaurant, a very high-end restaurant.
Stephanie, sorry to interrupt you, but perhaps before you go to the commission, you could call it History Fort Lauderdale instead of History of Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, and I can't even see that from here. That is way too far away for me to read with my old eyes. So we will make that change. So as I said, this is a voluntary presentation to this board. So next slide. So as I said, it is in the downtown RAC area. So you're starting to get to the outskirts of the RAC. Most people think of the RAC as really the true downtown. This is now across the rivers, but it is still considered to be RAC, and the zoning is RAC SMU, South Mixed Use. And it is in a different character area than what you see in like the downtown higher towers. It's called near downtown. So you can see that's designated on these slides. Next slide. So it's a really neat project. It's a true definition of the only time my phone rings is if it's my 14-year-old. So I apologize. Yep. It rings through for safety reasons, so I apologize for that. So it is a true mixed use project. This is a project that has a little bit of everything. It's got a condo, which you can see that is the tower that's right in the middle. The condo tower is slated for 200 units, and that's actually the building that is asking for a waiver. So you can see that's pretty far away from the historic district. And there's no way for me to turn that off because
It's important. You need to.
Yeah. Thank you. And then the multifamily, which is the building that's at the back, is 360 units. And the hotel is the building that sits right on the water, and that's 119 units. This has a lot of retail, a lot of restaurant. That's really what the neighborhoods in. This is the Tarpon River area. This is actually, my office is literally, I could throw a stone. And there's a really burgeoning area here for retail and restaurant. And I know that's what the neighbors want. It's amply parked. It's got some self-parking, some valet, and then as I said, the dry stack is staying as part of the project, and it will have 84 dry stack and 8 wet slips. We did take this to the Marine Advisory Board. So we've already been through the Marine Advisory Board, which obviously weighs in on anything that happens on the water. Next slide. So this is a section from your staff report that just says that it is expected that this new development will have minimal to no adverse effect on the historic district, obviously because of its distance. So next slide. This slide is just showing you in sort of plan aerial view what those wet slips look like and what the podium of the project looks like. And you can see that it sits right on the railroad track. So the Bright Line and the trains go right past this project. There is a cul-de-sac that's on the top of the screen. You can see that that's the cul-de-sac that sits between the prior project that's already approved, that's in for building permits right now, and this project. And another thing that I really like about this slide is you can see that the podiums have been split in half. So there's a very large paseo that goes through the buildings. It's depicted in gray and white with landscaping on both sides. And that's an opportunity for the residents to come off the Riverwalk. I'm going to talk about the Riverwalk in a minute, but to come off the Riverwalk and walk through that paseo. From inside that paseo, we have glass walls where you can see the inner workings of the dry stack marina. So that's where you can see the boats actually coming out of the dry stack, move throughout the dry stack, and then get dropped into the water. And then there's a second opportunity, not including the Riverwalk, to go a little bit further to the south. And there's a second walkway. And the reason that we did the second walkway behind the entire project is because that's actually where the crossing across the railroad track is. That's we did talk to FEC about the possibility. There was a request from Riverwalk to try to move that pedestrian crossing closer to where the Riverwalk actually happens. Right now, I can say I don't think FEC wants to hear from us. So the city has kind of taken that on as their challenge. So we do have 3 opportunities to cross the project, but the formal crossing for the pedestrians to get across the railroad tracks is all the way west, and that connects to what happens on the other side. So that's the safe pedestrian crossing. So next slide. Here I'm starting to show you where we accommodated the Riverwalk. So we spend a lot of time with the Riverwalk Trust and with Gina Ellis, working through designs for Riverwalk. We originally did not think that we would be able to extend the Riverwalk through the marina. As you might imagine, taking pedestrians through a working marina is challenging from not only a logistical standpoint, but from an insurance perspective. Not something that insurance companies really want to sign off on. So we struggled with this, but I'm really, I have to really credit Architectonica, Bernardo and Krishna. We spent, and certainly the Riverwalk, we've now presented this to the Riverwalk. They're excited about this. This is an elevated walkway. I'm going to show you some better slides of it. But what happens is you take that Riverwalk, the Riverwalk, of course, goes in front of the Raintree Riverwalk residences, and then you take that Riverwalk, and there's 2 opportunities to get to the elevated platform. One is a stairwell, one is an elevator. And then on the other side, you come back down with either a stairwell and an elevator, and then that Riverwalk extends across the railroad tracks to the related project that's on the other side. I've got some better slides that will show you a little bit closer. Next slide. So here you're starting to see what's happening over the podiums. So there's just a lot of phenomenal amenities, both with the condo, with the hotel. It also shows you how far back these are set, when you include the water, the historic district, and how far these are set back from that, and why this is this comes to you as more of an informational, because it's really not part of the historic district. Next slide. And again, we're just showing you the considerable setback to the Himmershey Historic District. That's to the tower. This is an interesting slide, because what you can see here is that the hotel, which is the building that is closest to the water, is very, very narrow in scope. It's considered very small. It just, 119 units. That's not considered a large product. And it's very narrow for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's kind of groundbreaking to do a hotel over here in this district. Nobody's done one. I think that the time is right to do it. I'm excited about it as someone that's invested in Tarpon River myself. But it's not something that anybody has done before. So you don't need something large. And in addition to that, it's just less impactful because it's so incredibly narrow. And then the building that is the larger of the 3, which is the condominium, that's set very, very far back from the historic district. And that's the blue line that you see there. So next slide. And here you can see how, when I'm talking about how narrow that hotel is, it's very, very narrow in scope. Really pretty, beautifully designed, but very narrow in scope. Next slide. And here are the 3 towers and how they all work together. When you look at them inside view, they look very different than when you look at them straight on. But you can see again the hotel, and you start to get the overall nautical feel of the way this is designed. You've got the portholes on the podium. You can see the porthole where you've got the dry stack marina and the podium that's closest to the water, of course. And you see those kind of sweeping looks on the tops of the buildings that really sort of mimic a cruise ship. Next slide. And these are just some images, again, that show from different perspectives. You can see the marina here and the elevations. Next slide. I'm sorry, can you go back one? You can see on this one, where you see the blue sort of at the center, kind of down towards the bottom of the building, that's the elevated Riverwalk platform. So you can, and actually we followed the design guidelines of the Riverwalk exactly. So
Where are you referring to?
see that blue line there? Thank you so much.
No.
That's an elevated
Oh, there.
walkway.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah, that's an elevated walkway. But if you look at it from the top looking down, it meanders exactly like the Riverwalk. It has the same break. It actually has the same, the Riverwalk design package is very specific. It tells you exactly what kind of light poles you have to use. And we've had to work with the company that produces those light poles to moderate them so that they can be attached to the building, because obviously they're not at ground level, but they're identical to what the Riverwalk guidelines tell you that they want the Riverwalk to look like, which is really neat because it's just a different experience, the Instagrammable moment, I suppose, but it's seamless when you're traveling it, when you're traversing it, it feels and looks like Riverwalk. Next slide. And these are just some of the skyline drama, right, Trish? The city likes skyline drama. So this is what the tops of the buildings look like on the roof detail. Then next slide. There's the money shot. You can kind of see it all working together. And I think there's just a couple more like that. Yeah, keep going. And there's the best shot I have of the elevated Riverwalk. You can see it really does mimic and looks a lot like the Riverwalk, except that it's on an elevated platform and then continues to the railroad tracks, even though that's not where the pedestrian crossing is, but that was in working with Riverwalk. That was what Riverwalk requested. So we handled it that way. I think that might be the last one. Is that it? Okay, yes. And Bernardo, Krishna, and I are all here and happy to answer any questions that you have.
You said Pirates Republic is staying?
It's not staying.
Oh, it's not staying.
I mean, I think they would, I can't speak for ownership. They're very close. The owner of the property now is the developer. He's has owned it for a very long time. He's very friendly with the owners of Pirate Republic. I imagine there will be an opportunity for them, but the on the water restaurant, I think will be something that's closer in brand to what the hotel will be.
So in that image right before this one, in that spot, there is going to be another restaurant?
So how the docks are now,
Yeah.
those are vested in their configuration and the way that's being handled. Yes, so there will be a restaurant there. There will be an on the dock and the docks that we are that are not part of this approval because we split the approvals for the upland and the in-water. But the in-water will have transient slips, so people can come dock, eat, which is super rare in Fort Lauderdale. Hard to find a lot of restaurants that have transient dockage for boats to come. So we're excited about that.
Well, first of all, do we have any public comment before we go on to board comment?
I think these people are all with me.
They're all with you. You brought the whole audience, okay. Good, if that's the case, there's no public comment, then we'll go to board comment.
Well, was there any actual report from the city? I mean, you got report, but.
Yeah, it's a short report and it's basically stating that I took a look at the criteria of adverse effects from the Code of Federal Regulations and what it's asking within that. Most of those do not apply. They actually all, I think, state that they're not applicable due to the distance between the sites. And then I took a look at the aspects of integrity and how that would be affected in the historic district. Which again, no adverse effect on any of them except for potential for archaeology, but they do have a condition within the DRC application for archaeology. Maybe testing and monitoring.
Yeah, we're doing that.
Yeah.
And you also said that the applicant did not have to come before this
Correct.
board.
Yeah, it's not required. We do have a section in the code that does talk about, us weighing in on these DRC projects. If there is any adverse effect on historic properties, but we typically only require them to do that when they're directly abutting
Okay,
the historic site or historic district.
great. Richard, do you have anything else?
But just basically the questions on like shade and how that's gonna cast a shade in the historic district and the tree canopy as a result. I mean, you've looked at that, considered that? Because that in the past has been a problem for large construction projects around.
This is so, it's so far, I mean, we did do shade studies, but it's so far away from the historic district. It's not, it doesn't have a real impact on it.
And so parking and the traffic congestion issues that might be as a result of the number of units that are there. How's that? That's been studied as well?
It has everything. We've been at it for about 2 years
Yep.
now.
Okay.
Yeah, we've done all the necessary reports and whatnot. It'll go to planning and zoning board where they will consider the site plan details. That's, it's a site plan level 3, but it does, as I said, it does go to commission because of the one large tower.
And is the Riverwalk paying for that construction or is it
No,
development paid?
that's being paid
I'm
for by the developer.
assuming, but I just want
Yeah.
to.
Nice try.
Making sure.
I should have suggested that.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Comment?
No, I think it's an attractive project and sad to see Pirates Republic go.
It'll be a new and improved.
Such a life.
Okay,
I have a comment and a question. First, it's gorgeous, It really is. I love how it picks up on everything from cruise ships to walkability. The miscellaneous question on the multifamily, are there any set asides that you know of?
For, you mean to do
Low
like
income?
affordable housing?
Yeah.
No, not here.
So the rental is for open market. It's not.
It is.
or anything.
It is, yeah.
and then you wouldn't have to worry about height? If you had affordable housing,
Well, that would be a.
That's another
if we were to
issue.
do a livable-
I know.
I don't know that this is a hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of $1 million project. The
Yes.
overall investment is getting close to the B number.
Right,
I don't know that this would be the right place to do a livable
I don't think
product, but I
so.
will tell you, if it makes you feel better,
No,
immediately behind it, we just submitted an application for a site plan on the site where if anybody knows where my office is, so my office is going away, and we submitted a site plan that that does have a significant affordable housing component. So there will be affordable housing in this area.
okay. Well, I have a few comments. I think it's a really beautifully designed project. I like how developers are finally bringing really great architects to town to show Fort Lauderdale what can be done. I especially like the way the theme is carried throughout the project. I'd like to hear Bernardo at some point just explain what your vision was for the project and how it resulted in these 3 towers.
Sure, please do. Hi, good afternoon. Bernardo Forbreshit, architect. This was an interesting challenge because unlike a traditional project, there's a yacht garage. I can explain it, which sort of preserves sort of the yachting lifestyle that the river has and that Fort Lauderdale is so well known. So you see how that building dominates the image of the project from the water. And it actually offers an opportunity to create on top of it an amazing pool deck that is facing the river. And that is also an attractive, sort of combines the two, and we get value out of one and the other. And to the side, you see the hotel that it curves up. And it's perpendicular and it's single loaded facing the pool deck. And but as always with natural light. So you also see the river as you're walking to your room. And there's a restaurant right on the water. You see the umbrellas. There's a meeting space above. There's restaurant right on the water. So it will activate the waterfront as well. That is a part of what we were trying to do, and I think it'll be a lot of fun to go to that restaurant, because you see the boats coming in and out. Boats coming, but going by, people walking in the river walk, I mean, it would be a lot of.
boat in the restaurant?
No. Yeah, but you can't drive into the.
I know, but,
No, but the boat is like, the restaurant is like a boat.
okay,
Yeah, it looks like a, yes, and because that's a tradition of the operator from a place that is very boat oriented. It is, if you look at the other images, just show the other renderings of the overall. And so, they have control. Yeah, you see now from the other side, you see the hotel and how it undulates as if it was rising from the water up to the sky. And it curves, it creates a shape that is a skyline that is not just on the top, it's also in the profile of the building. And you can see beyond that, the other deck and another building at a distance that does the same thing. And there are two buildings, one is a rental, one is a condo, and then there's a third one that is a hotel. I think there's a couple other images somewhere there, I think, there you can see where the three buildings are. You see the condominium building in the middle, it's also cascades to the water. And it created by the balconies and looking at the pool deck. At the two pool decks, because there's a second pool deck and there's another building. So this is a real, and there's retail along the street. So it's like a mixed use hotel, residential and retail.
Will these be illuminated at night?
Yes, it'll glow. This will glow over the skyline. And you'll see it, as I said, not just the roof, but coming down to the river.
Nice.
And that's was the idea that we were trying to portray. There's a cross street that takes you, you don't have to take the bridge. You can choose to go the river walk
Right.
along the sidewalk and cross over and reappear on the other side. There's an option going on grade. Now, it is and that also contains a really nice drop off where that undulating shape becomes the canopy that forms the entrance to the building.
I have to give two architectural comments. I
Yeah,
can't help it.
sure.
One is I like the corner where you have the four cascading,
Oh, yeah.
smaller round windows.
We can go back
It
to,
looks a little whimsical, but
yeah,
it helps to break up the massiveness of it.
yeah. Actually, if you go back to the view of the water building, go back there.
Yeah, there.
Yes, that is actually, by the way, a cascading stair inside. That comes from, it's actually a fire stair, but it takes you down and you
Yeah.
can look through the portals as you go down. And in that big window, it brings the shaft of light into the boat storage.
Right.
And those circular windows reappear in the garage. You see beyond that,
Mhm.
the garage has also those circular windows that are part of the.
Yeah.
Actually, it's imagery, but it's also practical because that's the way to ventilate the garage.
Yeah.
It is, because it got the double duty. It's,
I was originally gonna say that it seems like there's some massive walls going on at the street level, but then I realized this is facing the railroad.
yeah, this is railroad. We're looking at the alley facing the railroad,
Right.
but
Because most of the others are retail you had mentioned.
yeah, on the other side.
Yeah.
Means the street frontages are all active uses.
Okay,
Lobbies, retail, restaurants, there's everything on the two frontages. To the side of the hotel, where there's also the entry to the hotel, and where the rental is, everything in between is all retail. It is, here is a railroad, but we thought we should design it because you see it from the railroad, you know.
well,
From the
especially
window of the
the
railroad.
big forms, you'll see.
Yeah,
that.
you'll see them in the speed, they'll walk by, but also from a distance, you sort of see this facade.
Mhm.
So we treated it like a front. It's just that at the ground level, you don't, at
Of
the
course.
ground level, you have the trains.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's why we paid attention to it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions?
I think it's one of the nicest mixed use projects I've ever seen. And I think of this stuff like when I think of Pier 66. So the idea that it's activating this part of the city is amazing. And hopefully it sets a tone to continue to elevate the area. And it's, in my view, it's almost flawless. It's just a beautiful, beautiful site plan. So,
Well, that's coming from an engineer.
Exactly, that's, thank you for the honor.
well done.
Yeah, it's superb and it really looks like that river has been waiting for that to grow out of it and into it since it's been here. It looks like it came from beneath the ground and surfaced. It's beautiful. Everything else looks like it was put into the dirt. This looks like it came out of the water. Gorgeous.
And with that, we'll say thank you. We don't have to take a vote since this was just advisory.
Yes, just advisory, yes.
Right, okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
all for
Thank
your
you.
time.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it.
What's next?
We wanted to do it out of small world. But I guess if you need to throw it away.
Oh,
So I guess the last thing on our agenda is whether we have any communications to the city commission. There's nothing pending.
It's up to the board. If
Up to the board, I understand that.
any.
And I ask this every meeting, the status update for Pier 66, still coming in December, I think.
No, Pier 66 was designated a couple of weeks ago by the city commission.
Now you tell us.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we talked about it at
Yeah.
the meeting, but then, the Castro convertible, is the other one you always ask about.
Right,
That-
that was next.
That is on the December,
That's December, okay,
the first one in December.
okay.
They're moving on Pier 66, though. It's coming fast.
It's looking good,
Yeah.
it's getting there. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I just want to tell everybody that that was one of the most famous architects in the world here right now.
Yeah.
Leonardo Forbresian from Architectonica. So that's why I wanted him to get up and just say a few words.
Is his name here in the?
Architectonica, that's the name of the firm.
He's not on.
He's not the applicant,
You're right.
but it was
That's what
on,
I'm
it was
looking
on
at. What's his name again?
Leonardo,
You got a project for him.
Ford FFD, Ford FORT, and then BRESCIA.
Since you're following up with things, there were two other things that I was inquiring about for follow-up. And that's, 2 years ago, I think, where we had a grant application for telling the story of Seattle, and I think you got the grant, but is there any progress on that?
So we've had a lot of difficulty finding, a consultant to fulfill all aspects of the grant for the budget that we had, and we had to withdraw the application because we couldn't find a consultant that could perform the work. We even tried to break up the scope of work a bit, and there wasn't enough time at that point. And
So you returned the funds to the state of Florida.
so we don't actually receive the funds until the work is completed anyway. So it's just a withdrawal of the grant award. And it would have to be reconsidered at a future time.
Okay. And the second one was that the request from the city for funding the revitalization study from
Yeah.
Hammersmith to Civil Bend.
I do have an update on that. So we did identify some funding and we are moving forward with a request for bids on a scope of work to perform that work. So it'll take a little bit of time to select a consultant once we receive bids and do that review and then get them up and running, moving forward.
Because I did identify some things to move forward with the
Yeah.
process.
Mhm. And that's with a vision plan aspect only.
Any other items?
Well, I had a couple other things I'd like to raise, maybe to put on the agenda next month, that helps have
Mhm.
public input if they're interested. There is the area that is being discussed where the police station is. And because that is an area where they're, I think, going to re-envision what they're going to use that space for, because there have been some lobbyists and discussions with the city that I'm aware of about what to do with it,
What space? you
The
talking
parking
about?
area, the overflow.
where the new police station is, where they had all those other buildings, I guess, Parks and
Are
Recreation.
you
had part
talking
of the
about along
space.
Broward Boulevard?
Long Broward Boulevard,
How far, I mean?
between 14th and 13th, I would say, 13th would be the street, so that area is being discussed of like what should go there. And I'm bringing this up because Richard here brought up a conversation piece about where to relocate contributing houses if there is a application for demolition. So this is a potential lot, I think, that we could consider for the city or request the city to use for contributing properties that could be relocated to an area in the city that is historic. So that's the discussion I think that I'd like to add to the agenda next month to discuss that as an option for the city to recommend the city use it for.
So before we do anything like that, I would just have to, I want to ask Tricia, does the city have any plans for this area? What's their intent?
I mean, we haven't received anything official. There's, I think, been some interest from outside organizations just like developing that, but I don't.
Well, they want to
I
buy the
don't
land
know
and
what
develop.
is gonna
Okay.
be moving forward exactly.
Because the city of Fort Lauderdale currently owns it. So just like many of the properties that are in the Hemisphere District, the city of Fort Lauderdale owns that land. And they lease it out at a fraction of the cost for like History Fort Lauderdale. So there could be plenty of uses, since the city owns the land, to take these homes, these properties, and relocate them rather than having them demoed.
So I have a question. Is this land the best location near Broward Boulevard for single family homes?
Well, it goes back to First Street, so you could put it on the back side of it,
The
but
back
a
half
large,
of it, yeah.
but there's a large lot there that you could use various spaces for it.
Because I think we've always talked about in this board, when items come before the board, especially along Broward Boulevard, they're subject to the Sailboat Bend guidelines, when really it's a whole different commercial district than the residential district of Sailboat Bend. So
For a lot of that land does abut to the preserve and to plenty of their homes that we've discussed that are coming before the board for consideration for applications. So
I thought I had heard that there was some discussion on some workforce housing and affordable housing. For
there
that
is, and so
property.
that's why I said lobbyists are, looking for opportunities there. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm saying we could make a recommendation. We could discuss it, whether or not we think it's a viable recommendation to the city, because we've had so many applications for demolition. And there would be a perfect location to put some of these properties.
And then what would be like the ultimate use of these homes? What's,
Well, that's,
who owns them?
right, exactly.
They're on
So
city
just
land.
like the other properties that are in Hemisphere, the city owns them. You could figure out a plan, but at least you're preserving them. That's our goal, is to preserve these properties of these homes. As well as you could have this mixed use,
Which,
so that's goes through making recommendations to planning and zoning to change the zoning so that they have more variety of
make an
uses.
office out of them or something. like
Exactly.
that. And then I'm just thinking just logically how it work. We're getting an application for demolition. Are we putting a condition that they donate the house to the city, and then who pays to move it, stuff like that?
Lengthy discussion on this, that's I'm putting on the agenda to see if we can further explore that for recommendation.
Got it.
So do I need to make a motion to put it on the agenda? Is that okay? All right, so I'd like to make a motion to put the area that's community facility next to the police station on the agenda. I don't know what the exactly address is, but for next month's discussion.
How large is that site, give or take?
Yeah.
Do you know how large it is?
I think it's at least a square block, if not more.
Really?
Yeah.
Because it goes 13th to 14th and then at least back to First. So
might I suggest also that maybe Tricia can get someone else from city staff, either
Yeah.
building and zoning, or someone who
Right.
might be more knowledgeable about the property.
Yeah, we haven't received any applications at
No.
this point,
But
so.
I'm just in terms of the city's vision, if there's
well,
any.
it's taking the initiative to have a discussion about it, because obviously before something happens that is adverse to the historic district, we want to have a discussion.
Yeah, it will ultimately be a city commission
Right.
determination.
Right, but it's just making us a recommendation.
You have to sit back
And then like after we
So that-
discuss it, our plan would be to send a communication to the city. Okay.
Exactly.
All right, so Sam,
Before I make a second, just so I understand. The recommendation is to explore the idea the onus will be on the city to determine whether or not it's practical, possible, or economically feasible.
Right.
So it'll come down to whether or not the city finds it to be worthwhile to actually designate a preservation piece of property for historical buildings that need to be moved.
Don't put it in those terms.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're discussing, your motion is just to put it on the
Take a look at
discussion item.
Yeah.
So
Put it in the
it
agenda.
depends
Look at
on what that discussion
Yeah.
item would be
Well,
on whether or not.
The reason I'm asking all this is so that we don't spend an hour talking about stuff that we're not really qualified to come to conclusion
Well,
on.
that's why I
It's a
suggest we have,
recommendation, the letter that you're sending to the city.
Yeah,
It's not like
okay.
we're gonna be making a decision.
Okay,
and that's why I suggested that someone from the city staff,
perfect.
in addition to Tricia, might.
And I second Richard Bray's
Okay,
motion.
all in favor to put it on the agenda? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, and the second piece of property that's related to this is a Broward County piece of property that's currently being used by the police station for during their process of doing the police station. It's at 1100 and 1000 Southwest Second Street. And it was formerly known as the Bark property, Broward,
Formerly known as what?
the Bark property, Broward's Addiction Recovery Center. That was demoed, and so it's a vacant lot at this point.
It's behind the police station?
No, it's about, well, it's 1000, so police station is like 1200, so it's 2 blocks away. Just down the street.
Corner.
It takes up a good majority of the block. It's actually a
Okay.
large piece of property.
It's just south of Kennedy Homes,
Yes,
and it's being currently used as a staging site for the construction of the police station.
so again, to have a discussion about that lot and the
It's
discussion.
not owned by the city.
It's owned by the county. Again, we can make recommendations to the county about the use of that land. So because again, it's in the historic Civil Bend district. And one of the things that historically have done with lots of land for communities during history is they use them as community gardens, victory gardens, or gardens of sorts for the general public to use. And so I grew up or spent a lot of time in Boston. And so Fenway Park has a victory garden with significant amount of land that's set aside for rental people generally that live in that area of the city, that they have a plot of land that they can go to plant vegetables or flowers, whatever they want. So it gives people who don't have a plot of land a place to go and to nurture with the earth and have that sense of a park in their community. Broward County does not have any parks in the downtown area of Fort Lauderdale or in Civil Bend at all. So it's a recommendation, since Broward County is a certified local government too, to maybe look at this as an opportunity to make that a garden property with victory gardens or gardens for residents or rental owners in that area to use for that purpose.
This is on what street? Second
Second Street.
Street North.
Like
Second Court, Middle Street.
Okay,
It's between Second Street and Second Court.
There we
okay.
go. Technically defined.
So again, my motion would be to, again, put that in the agenda, to have further discussion about that lot of land for historic preservation purposes and make a recommendation with the Broward County Commissioners.
Does that have to go through the city commission before it gets to Broward County?
I think so, yeah.
Because one of our directives is to work with state, county, city officials, departments, that we can make recommendations to other areas.
That's a more interesting piece, in my opinion, because it doesn't have that aspect of the police station kind of sharing with it, only because, like, I think you can do both of the things you described with what you mentioned. You could have the buildings there, maybe some element of them, and still have some open space.
Yeah.
I think it's big enough.
But there's two significant lots.
For sure.
That we could consider and improving that part
Right.
of the city rather than just being elements that
Might it
don't
be,
consider historic preservation.
let me ask you this, might it be helpful if before we write our letter, we invite somebody from Broward County and we invite somebody from the city?
Sure.
To have a question and answer?
Right.
So that, as Richard said, we don't spin our wheels. I don't know who to invite from Broward County.
Well, But
Well, I guess maybe the idea would be to ask the commission first, whether or not they want to do this,
Oh.
then we proceed that way after, because it's a little bit premature to invite someone.
it was,
Different piece of property.
make a recommendation that they.
Yeah.
Well, we have to make two separate recommendations.
Right, yeah, separate.
Because one goes to the county and one goes to the city.
Well, you,
And that's assuming that we get through the discussion and want to make the recommendation.
Exactly, exactly.
yeah, because you would ask the commission to, in order to be able to make that recommendation to the county, unless you want to do that only by yourself, not
Right.
on behalf of the city, you know what I mean? So.
Sherry, do we know the details of the lease from the city, presuming they leased it from the county? I mean, it's public information, isn't it?
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I can look it up, but I
Yeah.
don't know.
Okay. Be interesting to see how long their lease term is, if there's an option to extend it. If there's an option to extend it, maybe for some fixed duration.
That's why we're gonna invite somebody to come here.
Well, I'm saying the lease is, we can pull the lease first, you know? It's interesting.
Well, I'm trying to think
Yeah.
ahead, in other words,
Yeah.
all these
Great point.
parameters, because we're doing a revitalization study for him or she.
Yeah.
We're trying to do it for Sample Bend, thinking of these lines and thinking forward about what can we do as a board to help encourage preservation of the city, and these are two lots that you could look at that, rather than having them developed with something that doesn't really blend with the neighborhood, or have lobbyists that come in and do things
Yeah.
that don't necessarily help with preservation.
Who's lobbying on behalf of building the other site? Do we know? I mean, you mentioned some.
I, someone, but
Yeah.
I
Okay.
should say.
I didn't know that that site was in play. Interesting. Mr. Chair.
With that, if we have nothing more.
Well,
Don't we have an
motion, so-
election?
Would somebody like to make a motion?
No, he made a motion and he's.
Oh, are you,
I'm waiting for a second.
oh, you made a motion for, so your motion,
Was to add it to the agenda for
You-
next month.
you're talking about two different subjects of discussion.
One was.
One for the county and one for the city.
Different sites. Yeah, same idea, two different sites. Same sort
Well,
of idea.
no, one was, as you're pointing out, yeah, one was for the city for the property next to the police station.
Right.
One was for the Broward County property, that's all.
That's what I was saying. So with that, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor to discuss it next time? As part of the agenda, aye, opposed? The motion will be on the agenda. The item. And with that, if there's,
We have election.
And we have elections here.
oh, yes, we have to elect a brand new chair and vice chair
Why?
every year,
Every June.
every June.
Can the same people do it? Oh,
So we think people have to be nominated.
I nominate
Nominate the
Arthur.
same people.
I nominate Arthur for chair and Richard for vice chair.
Second those nominations.
I'll start it.
Okay,
Easy.
that's either really good or it means that nobody else wants to join.
Or a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All those in favor
Thank
say
you.
aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? No. Motion carries.
Congratulations.
Likewise.
Really tough.
Yeah.
Made it hard.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to second, all in favor.
How old?
Tricia, did the attendance reset in